Am I a suspect in her passing?
Should you be?
I need to get rid of the gun.
What, the glove?
I'm gonna throw it into the water. They'll never find it.
2 nights before she died, Emma Walker sent a text describing something that scared her, a stranger dressed head to toe in black, moving through her neighborhood after dark. She had no idea the person she was describing it to may have been the very person doing it. Her parents had already tried to raise the alarm themselves, telling anyone who would listen that something about her ex-boyfriend felt wrong, dangerous even, but there was no crime yet, nothing police could act on. Just a family's fear and a 16-year-old girl trying to feel safe in her own home. Days later, Emma Jane Walker would be found dead in her bed, shot while she slept. What follows is the story of how a broken relationship turned into a murder nobody could stop in time, and how investigators worked to find out exactly who was responsible and make sure he didn't get away with it. Her name was Emma Jane Walker. Her mother, Jill, had always wanted a daughter, and had always known she'd call her Emma the moment she had one. When Emma was born in Knoxville, Tennessee, on March 20, 2000, Jill called it the biggest blessing of her life. Emma grew up in Sturkey Hills, a quiet, tree-lined neighborhood where nothing ever seemed to happen. By 14, she already had a plan for her future that most teenagers don't have yet. She wanted to become a neonatal intensive care nurse, caring for the smallest and most fragile patients at a hospital not far from her own home. It wasn't a passing idea. She talked about it like she could already see herself there. In the fall of 2014, as a freshman, she made the cheerleading squad at Central High School, the only freshman in her class to do it. She was warm, strong-willed, and easy to be around, the kind of person who knew exactly what she wanted out of life. That same fall, in the hallways of Central High, she met a junior 2 years older than her. His name was Riley Gall, and at first, everyone who met him liked him. Riley Gall was born on August 12, 1998, and raised by his mother and grandparents. He played wide receiver on the Central High football team, and friends described him as a little on the nerdy side, more of a jokester than a classic jock. When Emma's parents, Jill and Mark, first met him, they liked him too. Jill would later call him the boy next door, polite, respectful, easy to be around. For a while, nothing about the relationship raised concern. But as months passed, the people closest to Emma began to notice something shift. Riley grew possessive. He paid close attention to who Emma talked to. He had opinions about what she wore and where she went. Jill and Mark started to worry, and eventually told Emma she wasn't allowed to see him anymore, that he wasn't welcome in their home. Emma kept seeing him anyway. She was stubborn in the same way she was determined. She made her own decisions, even when the people who loved her most disagreed. Then Riley graduated. And the distance that was supposed to create space instead. Something else entirely. After high school, Riley enrolled at Maryville College, about 16 miles south of Knoxville, where he earned a spot on the football team as a wide receiver. Emma's parents hoped the distance would help. It didn't. The relationship continued, on and off, strained by the same possessiveness that had worried them from the start. By the fall of 2016, Emma had reached a breaking point. She told her friend Keegan Lyle that she was done, completely done, this time for good. Her family said the same thing. She meant it, and for the first time in a long time, it looked like she might finally be free of it. Around that same moment, Riley's life outside the relationship was also collapsing. He was dropped from the Maryville football team. No practice. No routine. No structure to fill his days. What was left was time, and a fixation on someone who had already decided to move on without him. Emma did what anyone would do after ending things for good. She blocked Riley's number. What she didn't know was that he'd found a way around it, a phone application capable of generating anonymous, disposable numbers. So the messages kept coming anyway, except now they arrived with no name attached, no clear sender, just texts appearing out of nowhere. Then, in the days before November 21st, the messages escalated into something else entirely. One claimed that Riley had been kidnapped and that he'd been left somewhere near a house where Emma happened to be staying that night. It was urgent. It was frightening. And it was designed, investigators would later argue, to do exactly what it did, pull her outside and pull her back toward him. She had no way of knowing yet just how far he was willing to go to stay in her life. Emma went outside with her friend Zach Green to check on the frantic message. Under a streetlight, they found Riley lying face down in a ditch. He lifted his head, looking confused, insisting he didn't know what had happened or how he'd gotten there. Emma didn't fully buy it. She'd already ended things. She'd made that clear. And now here he was, appearing exactly where she happened to be, with a story that didn't quite hold together. It would later become one of 5 pieces of the puzzle prosecutors used to build their case, evidence, they argued, of a pattern, not a coincidence. But at the time, Emma had no proof, only unease. And within 48 hours, something far stranger would begin happening much closer to her own home, something that would turn quiet suspicion into real fear. Neighbors in Stalking Hills started noticing a figure moving through the area at odd hours, dressed entirely in black, quiet, watching. Surveillance cameras caught glimpses of him. Emma texted Riley about it, frightened. He denied knowing anything, and at one point even acted as though he'd come to protect her from whoever it was. But a witness later placed the man in black heading toward a community pool nearby, a spot where Riley was known to park when he visited the neighborhood without being noticed. Emma's parents tried to raise concerns, but there was no direct threat yet that police could act on. Just a mounting, unprovable sense that something was deeply wrong. They were right to be afraid. Investigators would later recover physical evidence, gloves, black clothing, even black tape, tying that shadow outside her window to something far more calculated than anyone yet understood. If this case has you as unsettled as it has us, subscribe now, because what happens next is even harder to believe. The night was cold in Knoxville. The Walker family home in Stalking Hills was quiet. Emma had gone to bed. In the days leading up to that night, Riley had taken a 9mm handgun from his grandfather, the same caliber his grandfather would soon report missing. Riley knew the layout of the house well, from the years he'd once been welcome inside it. Sometime around 3 a.m., he stood outside Emma's bedroom wall and fired twice. No shattered glass. No sound loud enough to wake the house. One bullet struck Emma as she slept. She never woke up. The next morning, her bedroom door didn't open the way it usually did. When her family finally checked on her, what looked at first like a medical emergency would, within minutes, reveal itself as something else entirely, and detectives would be at the house before the day was over. Knox County Sheriff's Office Lieutenant Alan Merritt led the investigation, speaking with everyone close to Emma. One name kept surfacing, again and again, Riley Gall. His friend, Alex McCarty, told detectives something critical, that Riley had taken his grandfather's gun that same weekend. When confronted, Riley denied ever having it. Then he made things worse, texting friends and asking them not to talk to police, a move that only deepened the suspicion already building around him. McCarty and another friend, Noah Walton, made a decision that would change everything. Rather than protect Riley, they went to the authorities themselves. What happened next moved faster than almost anyone expected. Within 2 days of Emma's death, detectives had a plan, one that would use Riley's own trust in his friends against him. Before we get into how that plan played out, if you're finding this investigation as gripping as we are, drop a comment telling us what you think happens next. It genuinely helps this channel keep telling stories like Emma's. McCarty and Walton agreed to wear wires. Investigators built a hidden camera into a key fob and listened in live as the two friends met with Riley. Riley had a plan of his own. He wanted to throw the gun off a bluff into the Tennessee River, convinced the water would make it disappear for good. Cell tower data would later confirm something else entirely, that Riley's phone had traveled from Maryville to Knoxville and back that same night, placing him near the Walker home in the exact hours surrounding Emma's death. As the group approached River Bluff Wildlife Area, an overlook above the river, police moved in. Riley was arrested with the gun still in his possession. Alongside it, investigators recovered a bag containing gloves, black clothing, black tape, and a pair of tennis shoes, the same kind of clothing witnesses had described seeing on the figure outside Emma's home in the nights before she died. In January 2017, a grand jury indicted him on multiple charges. His family posted $1 million in bail, and he was released to await trial, a decision that would leave the Walker family waiting more than a year for their day in court. The trial began in Knox County Criminal Court in the spring of 2018, in front of Judge Bob McGee. Knox County District Attorney Charm Allen led the prosecution, building her case around 5 arguments. Intent to kill, motive, placement and proximity, a pattern of repeated behavior, and the trajectory of the shots themselves. Forensic expert Bobby Jones testified that the bullet's path lined up directly with where Emma's head would have rested on her pillow, and that whoever fired the shot had likely stood only 4 to 5 feet from the house. Defense attorney Wesley Stone didn't dispute that Riley fired the shots. He argued Riley never meant to kill Emma, that the shooting was a reckless, desperate attempt to manufacture another crisis he could rescue her from, just like the staged kidnapping weeks earlier. Believing Riley intended to kill her, Stone argued, would mean assuming an 18-year-old knew exactly where her head would be on the bed. The jury heard from Emma's parents, from friends who described months of fear, and watched body camera footage of Riley walking toward the river with the gun he'd planned to throw away. On May 8, 2018, after hours of deliberation, they reached a verdict. Guilty of first-degree murder, felony murder, stalking, theft, tampering with evidence, and possession of a firearm during a dangerous felony. Riley Gall received a mandatory life sentence, with parole eligibility after 51 years. He has since challenged the conviction more than once. In 2021, a request for a new trial was denied. In February 2023, the Tennessee Court of Criminal Appeals upheld the murder conviction, though it adjusted the separate theft charge. As of the most recent filings, further post-conviction challenges remain in progress. Emma Walker never became the nurse she'd planned to be. She never grew older than 16. But her memory outlived the trial that followed her death. Knox County renamed a local dog park in her honor, celebrating the love for animals everyone who knew her remembered so clearly. East Tennessee Children's Hospital dedicated a room in its NICU to her name. And a scholarship now carries hers forward, for students who, like Emma, once knew exactly what kind of future they wanted. It's a small thing, in the end, but it's the right one, a story that started with a warning she never got to see coming, and ends, instead, with her name still meaning something to the people she never got the chance to help. If you want more true crime cases and courtroom breakdowns like this one, subscribe and let us know in the comments what stood out to you most. We'll see you in the next case.